What's up, everybody? I hope you're all good and in high spirits. Today I'm going to try and be funny while talking about cultural perceptions. So I recently posted a video that I'm particularly proud of. It's about E40, him being ejected from the Kings game, and racial bias. And so in that video, I highlighted or used the doll experiment as an example of racial bias and how deep it runs. I thought back to myself as a little kid and the racial biases I had. And I grew up in a home with a dysfunctional alcoholic father. I saw violence. I lived in a housing projects in the 80s, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. And so I saw a lot. I saw people stabbed to death in front of me. I saw a lot of pain and suffering, and it was people that looked like me and black folks and Chinese folks living there. There wasn't a lot of white folks living there. They lived up the street in storybook homes that looked like the houses that I would read of beautiful places. Lamb Park has these beautiful old houses, and so that's who was next to me, and that's the world I saw of white people. And then when I got older, if you tried to use a word that maybe people around you didn't know, you were accused of trying to act white. And so whiteness, in a way, represented a sophistication, wealth, and a happiness, where being a person of color in some ways represented like pain and suffering. At least that was part of my experience growing up. And I do recognize that was my experience and the experience of a lot of people, but not the experience of everyone. I know now that in Mexico you have folks that go to universities and speak eloquent Spanish and don't migrate here because their families have it good over there. There's no need for them to come here, right? And I made it kind of an effort on my part to be able to improve my Spanish so that I can rise to the level of conversation with anyone, including Mexican agency staff or academia, folks from academia. And with those caveats and a final one that I love everybody, white folks, brown folks, black folks, Asian folks. I identify as a human first and foremost. And so anyways, back to the kid thing, I had these ideas of what it meant to be white, and that included, again, wealth, sophistication, happiness. I thought they were happy. And so a while back, I went to my mom's house and I pull up and I got a European car. And so, and I think I was coming from like work, and I had on, a button down shirt with sleeves and a collar and slacks and matching belt and pants. So I get out, I go bring my mom some food or something. And when I come out, I see somebody that I know up the street, a thug cat. And so when I see him, I walk over to say what's up. And when he see me, he lights up, he's happy. We chop it up, catch up on what's been going on. And then when I leave, he says, man, when you pulled up in your car and you got out, I thought you was a white man coming to complain to us about something. And I laughed, and I thought, oh, that's hella funny. And then I laughed, right? Didn't think about it. And then more recently, I went to go buy some tamales, and I got my daughter with me. And there's a line, and it's all raza construction, mostly like construction workers, because they got on the fluorescent vest with the reflective tape, and all the trucks are there. And then, I'm taking her to school, but if we got time, we'll go get tacos de canasta. 2 for her, 2 for me, and 2 for my wife. And so when we get to the line, the lady says, do you understand Spanish, mister? Do you speak Spanish? And I go, no me ves el pinche nopal en la frente? And which means, which translates to, can't you see the friggin' cactus on my forehead? Which, as a Mexican colloquialism, means, can't you tell that I'm super duper Mexican? And she says, nah, I thought you were a güero. And so I'm like, damn, what kind of vibes am I giving off? And then I didn't think about it until yesterday. So I made a sandwich. And when I was done making it, I said, damn, that was pretty white how you made that sandwich. And so first I went and I got a bread knife out of the knife block. And I sliced 2 slices off a fresh baked sourdough loaf that I bought that day. Then I went and got a steak knife because these give me good control and allow me to cut the tomatoes and the onions and the jalapenos thinly and easily. Like when you hit the tomato, it doesn't squish, it slices. These are really nice knives. Then when the bread that I had sliced with the bread knife came out of the toaster, I got a butter knife so that I could put mayonnaise, Dijon mustard on the bread. Then I proceeded to add my heirloom tomatoes so that they're not GMO, the organic lettuce, the onions, the thin sliced jalapeno, some uncured uncured pastrami, and Swiss cheese with the actual holes in it. I bought that sliced, but if not, I'm going to get to a point there where I got a cheese cutter. After I did all that, I told my wife, I said, man, oh no, I'm changing. I used 3 knives to make 1 sandwich. And I explained what I'd used, and she says, you could have just used the spreader that has serrated edges. I guess there's a knife for that. But when I made it, I thought, man, you made that sandwich like white folks. You're losing your Mexicanness. And again, I'm not even a very efficient white folks because they have a knife that would have cut me down to 2 instead of 3. And why is using 3 knives white folks? Because when I was a little kid, we might have had 2 knives. One would be a butter knife. It would get sharpened and used to cut tomatoes. It would get used to put butter on, to smear beans and crema on your torta, to cut the carnitas, to cut the jalapenos. When our car got stolen, we couldn't afford to fix the steering column. They popped the steering column. Our knife became the key. If a screw came loose and it required a flathead screwdriver or a Phillips, our knife was a screwdriver. The same fucking knife, 1 knife. If you had to walk somewhere at night, you were worried about your safety. Bam, it became your protection. If the batteries were low on your Walkman, and you didn't want to use them up rewinding your cassette. Bam! You stuck it in the thing and spun it. And you would rewind your cassette. It was a cassette rewinder. Fuck, man, this knife. You went fishing, caught a fish. Get all the scales off. Did a lot of stuff, man. One butter knife. Kept it simple when I was poor. I don't think it's a being white or brown thing. It was a being poor and being less poor thing. Because now I got 3 knives to use instead of 1. And maybe I just get my money's worth. But anyways, that was the comedy, man. Like, the perceptions we had. And after I made the sandwich, I was like, man, you made that sandwich with a lot of fucking knives and thought and stuff. And that was what I thought it was like for the other folks. Because we just had this one, and it did everything. It, like, man, it was cutting ropes. Much love, man. Have a good one.